And there's really no need. I mean,
Makes
to
sense.
do a virtual tour of that facility, which it's no different than a Seaway anymore, you know? God, you go to the center at the Seaway, you don't get to see the real thing. All you see is the video.
Yeah. But going back, the one last thing to talk about, Paul, is the avian influenza. We're watching that very closely. In fact, Ron Robbins and I are trying to get an expert to join us on a podcast because there is a lot of concern about that interaction with the dairy industry. You know, it's already in dairy cows, and they're starting to see it. They can vaccinate or whatever the cows, and it destroys the avian influenza virus, but it leaves trace particles. It's just like if you have a fluorescent, and correct me if I say anything wrong, Dave. It's just like if you have a fluorescent light system on your water system, you'll still find the organisms, but they're dead. They're not able to breed and so on. And that's what happens with avian influenza in cows is you'll still find the particles of the influenza. Some media, and it's more of a media concern, a public relations concern than anything else, they'll take that and they'll make that into a bigger story than what it really is. So we're watching that very closely. It has had a little bit of impact on futures and so on as announcements have come out. Not much we can do at the local level other than if we start to see it take hold in the press, we can try to moderate that some. We did. I'll end on this, I promise. We did have a reporter want to do a story on manure storage and manure spreading. Emily Griffin, who's very good. I was glad it was her that was calling. She called up and wanted to interview farmers about manure spreading and manure storage structures. And I was very happy she called me and wanted to set the story up. Because instead of sending her out to farmers, and nothing against the farmers, but instead of sending her out to the farmers, I had her get in touch with Justin Bach over at the Soil and Water District, who is an expert on nutrient management planning and all of the things that farms do and all the practices that are done. And I sent her all of the webinars that we have done with Dr. Frank Mittliner, the greenhouse gas expert for animal agriculture in the world. And we have those webinars as tools sitting there in our arsenal. And thankfully, she watched them. And she did a fantastic story about it with facts versus what we saw from the Cape Vincent issue a couple of years ago.
Was this tied to the Cape Vincent issue?
I don't think Emily had that purpose, but the danger when a reporter calls you and wants to do a story on manure storage or manure spreading is they don't know what they don't know. And then they pick up something and they see, for example, what was done with that Cape Vincent story, which, I mean, there were blatant, I'll be blunt, there were blatant lies told in that story where the person knew they were lies. And so this reporter wants to do a story innocently, but if they start to look at other stories, they'll get that bias introduced. And we were able to change that.
We're in the next 45 days of when most of the manure spreading is going on, anyhow, pre-planting. So we probably smelled it. It's that time of year again.
It's that time of year, yeah.
And how many people are injecting now? Are there many farms injecting?
Many, I won't say many. I don't have the number, but a lot of the larger farms have started injecting because it is so much better. Number one, soil compaction. Number two, managing the nutrients better. Number 3, keeping your neighbors happy. The farm down the road from me, he's got his big pipes out and they've got where it goes underneath the road, and they're injecting it into the fields. So it doesn't get quite as odoriferous down there on Windy Flats as it used to, so, which is a good thing.
Okay. The parent company for the two is the EW Group, which I think coincidentally, are they based in Germany too? I think
Yes.
they're, so we've got, Raw, just coincidental, Nora Brems,
Yeah.
are breaking out. So.
Yeah, the German presence is right here. And with Harry's project, it's gonna be the German consortium building that up. So we should all start to brush up on our German. Get the Amish here to give us some lessons. All right. So council reports, nothing more.
Oh, unfinished business.
All right. So unfinished business, let's jump to the ARPA situation or report. Or update.
There really isn't much to report. We have no new grants that we have provided to anyone, and I've got a little out of
Okay. Checks were going out this month, though. A
Yeah,
lot of
some
checks
checks were
went
going
out.
out, but we didn't have nothing new. Obviously, what did we say? 22. I'm sorry.
26 and 23 are the 2 round reports.
So a couple of things that we did that I think, are important, and we're going to talk about this a little bit in the meeting last night, but, there isn't money, we're down, the first round of the money is basically gone. Now, you will see the uncommitted balance on the rental property one, as we've talked about a number of times. That's a case where funds were awarded to a project and then they ended up taking less money. So that has opened us up for potential of a new project or so, but I would like to put that money into the productivity grant program, so we also have some money from, if you go into the round 2, there is some money left in the tourism enhancement. Not enough for 2 full projects, because again, the tourism enhancement they're larger awards. But we do have a little bit of money left over in that case. But other than that, the grants are basically all zeroed out. Really, that's to me, that's the important thing to report to you guys. The fact that we have had some money going on this month. But to me, the important thing is we've got the money on the street.
And if we have done it already, just so you know, we had that single audit cost addition to the audit. We can pay for. We're going to do some funds to pay for that.
Yeah, we're going to be reserving funds for that.
To move the money from rental to productivity, does that need the county's approval? Because didn't we lay out how?
No, the county was fine. I mean, I've always talked about that. We move between categories.
Okay, as appropriate.
You looking for a motion to move it? Because I know what a hassle.
Why don't we do that, if that's okay?
That would be good.
That would be good, to really, I think what we need is for the round 1 money to be allowed to be used during the round 2 program. Dave, do you think that would be?
I don't think that's beyond that. I think we just need more categories.
Just category to category.
We're blending them together from one
Okay.
next to some pieces.
I would move to reallocate the unexpended rental program monies to the productivity program.
Okay.
I'll second.
First and second. Any more discussion? Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Aye.
Thank you, Greg.
Just one more thing on our unfinished business. We did have our personnel employee handbook redrafted, pretty thorough review of that. We just, with the search and everything, didn't have time for the personnel committee to meet, so we'll need to get them together to do that and then bring it forth to the board. Most of this, and the updates are marked, but it's mostly self-based, more compliant. It's been quite a while since we updated that. So I think on the committee here, we've got, I don't know if you want to try to talk about it, Dave, we do something by email later, but Rob, Ed, and Dave are on personnel. So we try to get a date now, or you want to wait to do that via email? We still gotta get Kent and Lisa are also on that committee, so. Or we can just do a doodle poll later.
I don't,
Kent's the chairman, so.
yeah, we can handle that.
Yep.
Acceptance in the next board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Nothing more on the ARPA funds?
No.
Although, just a comment, looking at the report, there's still a lot of fund balance there, but the thing to remember is it's all spent.
Yeah.
So it just hasn't been dispersed. All right, council. Fair speech. Justin, anything you'd like to clear
Hey,
the
good
air?
morning. Nothing to add. Thanks and good morning, everybody.
Morning, Justin.
All right, new business. Is there any new business?
Yeah, we need to move, we held on the last meeting, I guess, because Dave wanted us to, on if we need to pay the fee, if we coordinated the change in trustees with the majority report. It doesn't matter when we do it, for that fee, so it's $175 fee, so.
The only thing under new business is the resolution then.
Yeah.
All right. Which is just an authorizing.
So so Dave and Marcia will be the trustees.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? Not? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution carried. Any other business we need to address? Not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
Yes.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand,
If you need
stand adjourned.
just give me a call. I know you got all.
Yeah.
Some of your
I'll see everybody later.
Thank you very much,
sir.
Thank you.
Drive safe.
No, right now it's pretty easy. It's just getting the word out.
You have volunteers yet?
That I haven't worried about as much as just the entries. Is the big thing.
Okay.
Yeah. They're coming in. I haven't paid much attention.
God, I was looking at mine this morning, and you touch on it, and my fingers, drag it across, and I drag it. As soon as I drag it, boom, gone, disappeared, deleted.
I'll talk to you about it. Some volunteers for that.
Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Jefferson County IDA in order. We've already done the pledge. Nobody here for the pledge of the floor. Minutes, is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, somebody make a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report.
Another one that really isn't overly exciting. We have ARPA funds in and out, and I believe that was for the Hounsfield Sewer Project, the $292,000. The balance sheet is consistent with expectations, no big dramatic changes there. And I'm going to be honest with you, I tried to call Lyle yesterday. I didn't get through. Was he out?
He's on vacation.
Oh, wow, then it's
He's
you.
in Myrtle Beach, yep, for 2 weeks.
So, couple things. I was looking at the cash receipts journal. Last month, we reported about Colleen's cherry tree. And there was it looks like we had a cash receipt. Are they now current or?
They are current.
They are, yeah, that
Okay.
last check, yep.
Okay, so that's good.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, what?
Cherry tree is paid?
It's current.
Colleen's, it's
At the moment,
100%.
at the moment, it's current. That's
I
right.
reported because they were significantly in arrears the last
We
time.
were very concerned about it, right?
So, because there was a report I normally get that wasn't in this package, I don't know if that's, I know you sent them out, Robin.
I know Joy did the financials, so.
Joy did the financial.
There
yes.
was none showing whether they're current
Current or not,
or
yeah,
behind.
I didn't
So
notice
that's
that.
good news.
Yep.
And just one other question, there was a check from the Sackett's Harbor Brew Puffer.
Well, that's probably the closing costs and loan.
What it was is that we thought we would get the application fee, and then we went back, and we did get it way back when, so we had to write a check reimbursement for that. Is that what you're talking about?
Okay, no, it's in the cash receipts journal. And I didn't, is that the name that we did the loan
Oh,
under?
that's the Sackets Harbor Brew Pub, the 150
No, the loan was SHB.
BP.
So I was just confused. I mean, it's money coming in, so it's always good. But I guess that's it. I'll have to talk to,
Yeah.
Lyle and
Lyle
we'll
says to
get it
update
figured out for next month.
Yeah, he has to.
But those are,
Yeah, I don't think our check to them is in the report.
Oh, I
yet.
hear you.
It'll be in next
Oh,
month.
500.
it's just one that jumped out at me that I didn't think what that
Oh, it
was.
is
It was, and it was a different name that we did the loan under, so I was just wondering what it was.
I think he just gets paid out of the other.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I guess that's all the report unless somebody else has a question.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. I mean, this organization operates by, if you go to, page 1 of the financials, you gotta look at pilot and sales respect fees, and we gotta keep our eye on the ball here, because if we are
That's
bringing
where,
money in,
I gotta go back to Lyle's annual budget time. He says that's where he balances out income and expenses.
I understand.
So,
I'm just looking at, long-term, short-term, long-term, we just gotta keep our eye on the ball here. So,
Well, let me ask a what-if question. With the development project at the airport potentially going through the bonding, what would be the potential?
The bond doesn't change anything in that case. It's just we just.
Well, I mean, our fee
But
as
that'd
far
be, that's gonna be $325,000, something like, it's over $300,000 fee we'll be getting on that.
Hopefully that'll be in this year's budget.
Yes.
just,
we didn't come close to meeting it last year. There's no expectations.
but this is an ongoing thing, so we just have to keep our eye on the ball with it, because it's,
Well, and that, the board, the county legislators may have to fulfill some shortfalls, which, we better make sure we're on solid ground should that have to happen. Which last night's
Well-
presentation goes a long way, I think.
Yeah, we
So-
want to look at asking for an increase in this year's budget. Modest, but some increase.
We are, as we do these pilot agreements, I mean, if any of these solars come forward, the more I'm hearing, the more they're more likely not to even go through an agency like ours. We've had no contact from any of them in the long term, have we?
No, I've got one discussion I can brief you on later, but.
Yeah, so I know Porlex paid $1 million for land already, so they're moving forward and they haven't had any discussions on pilots. And if you look at our but-for, I think you're going to be hard pressed to justify, an abatement package when they've already started buying property.
I'm sure it doesn't, if the purchase of the property necessarily negates the but it's the beginning of the construction that does so. We've had companies, we've had them do the site work and consider that okay, so they can still, at that point, still back out of the project.
So, I mean, I agree with you, Dave. We've been watching that through last year and this year.
over the years, I mean, we were pretty lucky to have that RCI money coming in all the time,
Yeah, we went through, when I first came over, the RCI money was finishing up, then we went through a period like this for a couple of years when Don was here yet, and things kind of started bumping back up again, so we kind of go through these
So
cycles. We're
Wouldn't
in
be
one of those
Maybe they're
cycles.
ready to do the renovations out there. That's how
But
we get
with the new
money.
valuation
They're ready to do
model, that's
renovations.
bringing the assessments down where they may just pay normal taxation. We won't know until the project moves forward.
But I think when you look at those new developing trends, one, the new evaluation model, which almost they can afford to pay 100% if they drive it low enough. And the other aspect being from an investment profitability standpoint, these solar development companies and their investors owning the land, it becomes much more profitable. The profit potential at the end of the year, revenue versus expenses, is greatly enhanced, which to me is just going to drive whenever they can buy the land, they're going to want to buy it.
Yeah, the other factor, which I discussed with one of the companies, is that it may be a case in some of it, depending on where they're located, that whether they go forward or not may depend on who gets into the grid first.
Yeah.
They're connected to the capacity.
Yeah.
Particularly if you look up to the line area.
Yeah.
Well, unless there's any other comments, I'd move the treasurer's report.
I'll second it.
First and second, is there any more discussion? Not all in favor, aye? Opposed? That's carried. Committee reports, I guess that's you again, Paul, if you've got anything on.
Nope, nothing on solar.
Okay, unfinished business,
I think I'll call unfinished new business and have council follow up, but Joe has completed, we have incorporated, as I told you in one of the emails, the ferry redevelopment, Development Corporation. So with the IDA being the initial board forming at the June meeting, the plan then should be for the board. Joe will have to approve that'll be the organizational meeting to approve all the organizational documents, policies, bylaws, stuff like that, and then appoint the board that's going to be discussed already. Christine has indicated that she's not going to be able to fulfill if she were anything about serving on that. Robin indicated willingness to serve on that board in her place.
Yeah, I think the thought was, I was talking to John a little bit, is maybe they could schedule meetings for the same day as we have our meetings.
Right.
Here, wherever that may be, but, because I'm always trying to be locked in to stay, to be in town, so. But that'll be a discussion with the board, I guess, right?
So working on that. So that should be an item for the June meeting. And then then the timeline again, I did confirm with Dave Paulson, so if we do the organizational meeting, we can then get that new board together at some point in June. It's going to be in June when the county intends to figure the finalize the foreclosure on the ferry property. So we'll probably be ready to turn that over for the new board to accept, probably in July.
So once that goes to remediation or cleanup.
Yeah.
Is it predictable that the pool of money that they're allocating is going to cover it to the point? I mean, the county isn't going to have to participate financially, right?
Remember the numbers, I think I rounded up on what I sent you, but it's actually, the grant was about $8.5 million. There's a $300,000 grant from National Grid. The project, and then the county has come with 10%, which I think they've allocated ARPA funds toward.
Yep.
So those are committed there. So the total project's going to end up being about 11 million, somewhere in there.
That's what they're anticipating
To the overall project.
to get that remediated.
Yeah. And what they remediate will be depending on what can get done within that budget. So the county Dave Paul's been working with Development Authority to kind of prepare and oversee. They work on projects like Lions Falls and some other projects around the region, helping oversee some of that. So they'll be working with a group on it.
And they've done enough testing and drilling
phase one
to
and
know what they're
phase
dealing
two.
with. So there shouldn't be unexpected $2 million
Yeah.
overrun on that.
There should be. The budget, I mean, the project will have to stay with the budget.
Yeah, there will be.
Dave says otherwise.
Yeah. Justin, anything to add to that?
There's stuff buried out
Organizational
there.
stuff?
It's dead body.
Well,
Find out.
Let's go find some.
so we good on unfinished business and new business as well?
Well, I don't know if it's new business. Dave sent out an email about the Globe Mini Mall renovations. Have we decided what, if anything, we're going to consider? Or I know we don't have an application yet. As I read the UTEP, that would be a deviation in any case, right?
Well, Tom, it kind of falls into, sort of commercial redevelopment. I mean, it's a combination of housing and commercial level at the bottom. When we did the Woolworth building, my understanding at that point in time, we could have done that too, but we actually, at the time, because of the policy at the time, we actually asked the city council to request that we do the pilot. But when we did the Buckley building in Carthage, that appears to have been done without a deviation when they did the redevelopment of that. So.
And you kind of, from one of your emails,
Requested that at the time too.
Yeah, they have to do it part of the Restore New York.
Because it was part of Restore New York.
But we didn't do it as a deviation type.
So
My,
there's a
my
big-
preference would be that we require the city to ask us to get involved. Just because of the politics of the nature in the city too.
But it
if we're gonna-
appears it'd be highly likely that it would fall under our standard UTEP.
Yeah, Justin, your gold ball?
Yeah, and this goes back to, a little while ago, I was helping Don Alexander, redraft the UTEP. It might have been as much as 10 years ago. But, the primary thrust was to add the renewable energy class of projects that we've been utilizing, for solar over the years. But as we classified the other kinds of projects, we mirrored the general municipal law and made a reference to commercial projects, which statewide, where IDAs are doing affordable housing or even market rate, those are commercial projects, as long as it's for rent. The bright line is for sale housing, where units are being sold as condos, standalone. IDAs generally don't get into that practice because there's no commercial activity going on with the owner occupied unit, but if they're paying rent to a landlord, that's commercial. That being said, you have a commercial class of projects in your UTEP that encapsulates housing. So technically, you don't need to deviate. I know it's been the historic practice and kind of your philosophy to not pursue housing unless really requested to do so at the base or otherwise. And Dave mentioned the Woolworth building and Carthage. But you technically don't have to deviate. You can undertake a housing project that's pure apartments or a mixed use without going through a deviation. But if you want to stick with the spirit of your ongoing kind of practice and philosophy, you can ask for an endorsement or a request from the municipality to support your undertaking. So if the city's facilitating or supporting the developer's request for a pilot, it can't hurt to get a request letter or an endorsement from the city administration.
Sounds doable.
So we can request out of the city.
I don't want to, this isn't a disagreement. Could you just sometime highlight that section of the UTEP? Because I read it and I still was thinking it would have to be a deviation. So, but if you could just highlight that section maybe and send it out to the board to make sure we're all on the same page, because I thought it would have to be a deviation. Because let's not forget with 202 housing, the second one, after we did the Fort Drum housing shortage, we said we're done with housing pilots. And if we decide to go back the other way because of need, that's fine too. But I just want to make sure that we don't open up a can of worms with other.
I mean, we could talk about, I know that when we did Newell Street, we didn't do a pilot there, did we? Or was that
Oh, Riverside.
Riverside?
No, we just did a loan for that project.
There was just a loan for that project.
No pilot.
I mean, if the city came to us and said, look, we got a blighted piece of property and, we'd like to, have some help. I mean, to me, that goes a long way versus just,
Absolutely.
And just for back, we can ask you for the request. I guess I would say, what I would propose for the process going forward, if you want, we can request the letter from the city supporting that, but not go through the formal deviation process because the time it's going to take them to do that formal, it's going to delay us months and it's going to delay him being able to start the project. And I also think, I look at these are retreating. I mean, straight housing projects like Beaver Meadows and Allen Ridge are different than the commercial redevelopment of a building that's been vacant.
I think if we do it, we have to make clear that's the reason where it's a redevelopment of a
exactly.
blighted property or underutilized property, and not someone going out and building a 120 unit rental facility.
Right. Realizing too, the process, even if it follows the UTEP, will still be notifying the taxing jurisdictions.
Mhm.
So the county and school district would sort of have the opportunity to express any opposition to that if they had issues with the project. So.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Be nice to get the politicians up front.
But I can see,
And the other thing, just for background, so the city was actually looking at doing the 485B for the project,
Okay.
which is the commercial part of it. But under the law, they can only do on that portion of the building dealing with the because they don't have a 45A in place to deal with the rest. So the benefit was minimal, so probably was why he's coming to us for a pilot. The city is, I mean, whether the city council supports it or not, I don't know yet, but I know the city staff are working to bring to the city council a proposal for them to adopt 45A into the city, in which case those projects automatically get both, either or, you know. So.
I can see where, going back to the crunch, where we got involved with providing military or, you know, housing for accommodating that sector. It's coming right back at us again. The demand for housing. I can see where in the next 5 years, especially with Micron's going to affect Watertown.
Yeah.
And our project at the airport, should it go through, we're going to be in a housing crisis again. So, you know, on a certain project, we may want to completely embrace, you know, potential.
Having sat in on the negotiations when I was with the county on 202 in Beaver Meadows, it was not an easy sell, especially to the school districts. And it was, Jim Koch, was it? Yeah. You know, I'm not sure it would have gone through without his assistance and all his studies he's done on per unit, children per unit. It'd be nice to know if that worked out, his analysis from what he did at Fort Drum. So I can tell you that was a brutal set of negotiations to get those through.
Yeah, it was.
So, but this should, if the council supports it, I have no problem. It's just knowing where the council's been on pilots in the past, and let's get them on the hook saying, we want you to take this project on, and then I'm okay with it.
I agree. I mean, it's,
Blessing up.
you know,
Anything else under new business?
Yes.
Good. On tech last night, you know?
Jay, I don't
It's all
want Jay to
improv
get
today.
my turkey. I talked to Marshall. I got two things there. I talked to Marshall. I was reading the minutes of the town of Watertown after we found out that they were going to move forward with our suggested zoning. And I noticed that on the Lawler-Lawman project in the park, they had submitted to get a permit renewal, and they were expanding their building by 20 feet on the back. And I see in the April 1st minutes of the town planning board, they made it contingent upon their approval contingent, which is nice, on bringing the plans back for us to review our statutory review because of the deed restrictions, and Mike said he'd submit those plans. So those should be coming forward for our review.
Yep.
And the other thing is, we probably should go into executive session to talk about the possible acquisition of real property. At some point in time, whenever the board wants it. Now is not the appropriate time.
I think it'd be a good idea to do an
Yeah,
update.
you can do a quick update. I mean, it wouldn't.
I move we go into executive session to discuss the possible acquisition of real property. And any staff and legal staff can.
Is there a second motion?
Second.
And second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So,
Acquisition or disposition or both?